3 days after the battle, New Busan Colony was busy with rebuilding. Colony Director An Woo-jin stood on the observation deck of the main administrative building, watching construction crews repair the damage from the Vorthak attack. "Director, we have a communication from Earth," said his assistant. "The President wants to speak with you directly." An Woo-jin smiled. News of the incredible human victory had reached Earth, and now everyone wanted to know exactly what had happened. The battle was already being called the 47-second miracle. Admiral Kim Tae-ho was in his ready room aboard the Iron Phoenix, reading reports from across the galaxy. Every major alien government was sending messages to humanity. Some wanted to form alliances. Others wanted to surrender before humans decided to attack them too. "Sir, you have a visitor," announced Captain Park Min-ji over the intercom. Dr. Nam Jin-hyuk entered the room carrying a data pad. He looked tired but satisfied. "Admiral, I thought you should see this. We're receiving messages from 17 different alien species. They all want to know the same thing, and what's that, Doctor? How long have humans been planning to conquer the galaxy, and which species will you attack next?" Tae-ho laughed. "They still don't understand, do they? We didn't attack the Vorthak to conquer anyone. We attacked them to save our people." War correspondent Kim So-min was preparing her report for the galactic news networks. She had been given permission to interview the crew members who had participated in the battle. Her story would be broadcast to every inhabited world in known space. "Chief Engineer Kang Yoon-ji," she said during the interview, "can you explain how the quantum disruption weapons worked?" Kang Yoon-ji looked uncomfortable talking to reporters. She was more comfortable with machines than with people. "Well, most weapons try to destroy enemy ships from the outside. Our weapons made the enemy ships destroy themselves from the inside. Was this technology developed specifically to fight the Vorthak?" "Yes. Dr. Nam Jin-hyuk spent 3 years learning about their biology and technology. Everything we built was designed to exploit their specific weaknesses." The reporter looked surprised. "You mean humans spent years preparing for a war that hadn't even started yet?" "We spent years preparing to protect human colonies," Kang Yoon-ji corrected. "We knew someone would eventually threaten our people. We wanted to be ready." On the planet's surface, children were playing in the streets again. Young Hui and Minsu were using toy spaceships to reenact the battle they had watched from their shelter. "I'm Admiral Tae-ho," shouted 8-year-old Hui, making swooshing sounds with his toy ship. "Thunder Protocol activate." "No fair," complained his sister Minsu. "You always get to be the Admiral." Their mother, Lee Kyung-mi, watched them play with mixed emotions. Her children were safe because brave people had risked their lives. But she worried about what kind of galaxy they were growing up in, where such terrible battles were necessary. Ambassador Lee Kyung-jae had arrived on New Busan to meet with representatives from other alien governments. Word of the human victory had shocked the entire galactic community. The first visitor was Ambassador Zeltron from the Hegemony worlds. The Hegemony controlled over 50 star systems and had always considered humans to be a minor species. "Ambassador Lee," Zeltron said through his translation device, "my government wishes to discuss a mutual defense treaty with humanity." "That's interesting," Lee Kyung-jae replied calmly. 3 months ago, your government refused to even meet with human diplomats. You said we were too primitive to be worth your time." Zeltron's alien features showed embarrassment. "Perhaps we misjudged human capabilities." "Perhaps you did." The next visitor was even more surprising. Fleet Marshal Korvax of the Stellar Dominion had come personally to negotiate with humanity. The Dominion was one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy. "Humans," Korvax said in his deep, rumbling voice. "The Dominion wishes to propose an alliance. Together we could bring order to the galaxy." Ambassador Lee Kyung-jae studied the massive alien warrior. "What kind of order are you talking about, Fleet Marshal?" "Military order. With human tactics and Dominion strength, we could conquer any species that refuses to submit to civilized rule." "I think you misunderstood what happened here," Lee Kyung-jae said firmly. "Humans didn't defeat the Vorthak to start conquering the galaxy. We defeated them to stop them from conquering us." Korvax looked confused. "But with your power, you could rule." "We don't want to rule anyone," the human ambassador interrupted. "We just want to live in peace and protect our families." Back on the Iron Phoenix, Admiral Tae-ho was meeting with veteran Sergeant Hwang Tae-jun, one of the oldest soldiers in the human fleet. Tae-jun had fought in humanity's first contact wars 20 years ago. Admiral, I've been thinking about this battle, Tejan said. Other species fight to prove they're strong, or to take resources, or to expand their territory. But humans fight differently. How so, Sergeant? We fight like parents protecting their children. We don't care about fair fights or honor or glory. We care about winning because if we lose, the people we love will die. Tejo nodded. That's exactly right. And I think that's why we scared the galaxy so badly. They expected us to fight like warriors. Instead, we fought like a family. Dr. Nam Jinhyuk was analyzing the data from the Vorthak ships they had captured. What he discovered was both fascinating and disturbing. Admiral, I think you need to see this, he said, showing Tejo his findings. The Vorthak weren't just another conquering species. They were running from something. Running from what? I'm not sure yet. But according to their records, something had been destroying Vorthak colonies on the far edge of the galaxy. That's why they were moving into our space so aggressively. They needed new territory because they were losing their old territory to some unknown enemy. This was troubling news. If something was powerful enough to threaten the Vorthak Empire, it might eventually threaten humanity too. Doctor, I want you to study those records carefully. If there's a bigger threat coming, we need to know about it. Meanwhile, the captured Vorthak survivors were being held in comfortable detention facilities. War Commander Thakmor had requested another meeting with Admiral Tejo. Human Admiral, Thakmor said through the translation device. My people wish to know what you plan to do with us. That depends, Tejo replied. What do you plan to do if we release you? The alien was quiet for a long time. My empire is broken. Our fleet is destroyed. Our colonies are defenseless. We have nowhere to go. Would you be willing to stop attacking other species? We attacked others because we needed their worlds to survive. But now we have seen what happens when we threaten humanity. Perhaps it is time to find another way to live. Admiral Tejo made a decision that would surprise the entire galaxy. War Commander, I'm going to offer your people something no one has ever offered before. We will give you 3 uninhabited worlds in human space. You can build new colonies there, but with conditions. Thakmor's eyes widened. What conditions? No weapons of conquest. No enslaving other species. No attacking civilian ships. If you can live in peace, you can live in our territory under our protection. You would protect us? After we tried to destroy you? That's what humans do, Tejo said. We protect people who need protection. The news of Admiral Tejo's offer to the Vorthak survivors shocked every government in the galaxy. Many alien species thought humans were either incredibly wise or completely insane. 6 months later, the first Vorthak civilian colony in human space was established on a world they named New Beginning. The former warriors learned to farm and build peaceful settlements under human supervision. War correspondent Kim So-man wrote in her final report, "The Battle of New Busan lasted 47 seconds, but its effects will last forever. Humanity has shown the galaxy that the strongest military force is not always the one with the biggest guns. Sometimes the strongest force is the one that fights to protect rather than to conquer." The human fleet returned to Earth as heroes, but Admiral Tejo refused all offers of promotion or political position. He wanted to continue protecting human colonies because he knew that somewhere in the galaxy, other threats were waiting. At the victory ceremony on Earth, President Martinez asked Admiral Tejo what he thought was the most important lesson of the battle. "Madam President," Tejo replied, "I think the most important lesson is that humans don't have to be the biggest or strongest to be the most dangerous. We just have to be the most determined to protect the people we love." In the end, the Battle of New Busan became more than just a military victory. It became proof that humanity's greatest weapon was not their technology or their tactics, but their absolute refusal to abandon each other. And across the galaxy, every species that had ever considered attacking human colonies thought very carefully about what they had learned. Humans might forgive you if you threaten them, but they will never forget. And they will always be ready. Admiral Kim Tejo raised his hand, watching the countdown timer on his screen. Around him, every officer on the bridge of the Iron Phoenix held their breath. This was the moment that would decide everything. 10 seconds, he announced quietly. In the hidden stealth ships, Vice Admiral Song Kyung-ho gripped his command chair. His 15 invisible vessels were positioned perfectly behind the Vorthak fleet. The enemy still had no idea they were there. 5 seconds. Tejo continued counting. Chief Engineer Kang Yoonji stood ready at her control station. Her finger hovered over the activation switch for Project Thunderbolt. Years of secret research and development all came down to this single moment. 3, 2, 1. Thunder Protocol is active. Tejo's hand dropped like a hammer. Across the entire human fleet, quantum disruption devices activated simultaneously. These were not normal weapons that tried to destroy enemy ships with explosions or energy beams. Instead, they created fields of pure chaos that would turn the Vorthak's own technology against them. The effect was immediate and terrifying. War Commander. Thakmor was laughing at the human ships when his bridge suddenly filled with alarms. "What is happening?" he demanded as his officers ran between control stations. "Sir, our adaptation systems are malfunctioning," one of his subordinates reported in panic. "The biological network is receiving conflicting information." The Vorthak ships had spent the last 15 minutes adapting to human weapons, sharing defensive information through their biomechanical network. But the quantum disruption field made their own systems interpret this information as hostile data. Dr. Nam Jinhyuk watched his readings with excitement. "Admiral, it's working exactly as predicted. Their ships think they're being attacked by their own network." Technician Park Dong-yun was monitoring the quantum field generators. The readings were incredible and scary at the same time. "Ma'am, the disruption is spreading faster than we calculated. It's like a virus moving through their entire fleet." On the Vorthak flagship, chaos erupted as the ship's biomechanical systems began attacking each other. The organic parts tried to adapt to what they thought was a new weapon, while the mechanical parts followed their original programming. The result was catastrophic system failure. "War Commander, the engine core is destabilizing," screamed a Vorthak officer. "The weapons are turning on our own hull." Thakmor couldn't understand what was happening. His ships were supposed to be invincible. They could adapt to any attack. But now their own technology was destroying them from the inside. Wing Commander Ko Jiho was still flying his fighter near the enemy fleet when the Vorthak ships began tearing themselves apart. "Gold Squadron, pull back immediately. Those ships are going critical." Pilot Shin Yuna watched in amazement as a Vorthak battleship, twice the size of a human capital ship, began collapsing on itself. "Gold Leader, are you seeing this? Their own weapons are firing at their own ships." The quantum disruption spread through the Vorthak fleet like wildfire. Each ship that was connected to the biological network became infected with the chaos field. Within 30 seconds, over 200 enemy vessels were experiencing total system failures. Captain Park Minji stared at her tactical display in disbelief. "Sir, enemy ships are exploding all across the battlefield. I'm reading massive hull breaches, engine failures, and weapon malfunctions on every Vorthak vessel." "How long has it been since we activated Thunder Protocol?" Admiral Taiho asked. Communications Officer Ryu Hein checked her timer. 43 seconds, sir." The stealth ships commanded by Vice Admiral Song Kyung-ho revealed themselves as they fired their conventional weapons at the few Vorthak ships that were still trying to fight. But most of the enemy fleet was already destroyed or disabled. "This is Stealth Leader to all units," Song Kyung-ho reported. "Enemy fleet is in complete disarray. Repeat, enemy fleet is finished." Major Im Jisuk was preparing his Marines for boarding actions, but it was becoming clear they wouldn't be needed. "Sir, there are no enemy ships left to board. They're all either destroyed or dead in space." Medical Officer Dr. Wu Yejin was treating the human casualties from the first part of the battle. "Admiral, final casualty report from all ships: 127 wounded, 12 killed in action. 3 ships with significant damage, but all are space-worthy." Admiral Taiho closed his eyes for a moment, thinking about the 12 brave people who had died. Then he looked at the tactical display showing the complete destruction of the Vorthak fleet. 112 enemy ships destroyed or disabled, reported Lieutenant Commander Lee Ji-won. Total time from activation of Thunder Protocol to enemy fleet. Neutralization 47 seconds. The bridge of the Iron Phoenix was completely silent. Everyone was trying to understand what they had just witnessed. In less than 1 minute, the most feared military force in the galaxy had been completely obliterated. Captain Bae Soo-hyun's voice came over the communication system from the Soul's Wrath. "Admiral, I'm picking up escape pods from the Vorthak ships. What are your orders?" This was an important moment. The Vorthak had never shown mercy to their enemies. They enslaved entire species and destroyed whole planets. It would be easy to leave their survivors to die in space. "All ships' rescue operations are now our priority," Admiral Taiho ordered. "Bring those escape pods aboard." Treat the survivors with medical care and dignity. Some of his officers looked surprised, but they followed orders without question. The first Vorthak survivor was brought aboard the Iron Phoenix 20 minutes later. The alien creature was badly injured and clearly terrified. Dr. Wu Yejin treated its wounds while Admiral Taiho watched. "Why?" the alien asked in broken human language. "Why do you help us?" "We came to destroy you." "Because that's what humans do," Taiho replied simply. "We protect people who need protection, even our enemies." The Vorthak survivor stared at him with its large alien eyes. "Impossible. You destroyed our entire fleet in moments. You could rule the galaxy. Why show mercy?" "Because ruling the galaxy was never our goal. Protecting our families was our goal." War Commander Thakmor was among the survivors rescued by the human ships. His flagship had been torn apart by its own weapons, and he had barely escaped in a pod. When he was brought before Admiral Taiho, he was a broken creature. "How did you know our weakness?" he asked. "Our adaptation technology was perfect. No species had ever defeated it." Dr. Nam Jin-hyuk stepped forward. "Your technology was perfect for fighting normal weapons. But we didn't use normal weapons. We used your own adaptation system as a weapon against you." "Impossible," Thakmor whispered. "Your ships were connected by a biological network," Dr. Nam explained. "When our quantum disruption field made that network think it was under attack, every ship in your fleet began attacking itself. The more connected you were, the more damage you took." The alien commander looked confused and defeated. "But why did you study us so carefully? Most species just try to build bigger guns." Admiral Taiho smiled. "Most species aren't humans. We don't fight fair. We fight to win." News of the battle spread quickly through human space and beyond. Within hours, every species in the galaxy knew that the humans had destroyed the most powerful military force anyone had ever seen. The victory was complete, but Admiral Taiho felt no joy. 12 good people had died in the battle, and that was 12 too many. But 2 million people on New Busan were safe, and that made the sacrifice meaningful. As the human fleet prepared to return home, they received a message from the colony. Han Soo-young's voice came through clearly. "Admiral Taiho, this is New Busan. We don't have words to thank you. You saved us all. Our children will grow up free because of what you did today." Taiho smiled for the first time since the battle began. "Just doing our job, ma'am. Just protecting our people."
Space around the planet. New Busan suddenly lit up with bright flashes.
The human fleet came out of hyperspace in a formation that no one had ever seen before. 47 ships arranged themselves in a perfect line, pointing like an arrow straight at the center of the Vorthak fleet. On the bridge of the Iron Phoenix, Admiral Kim Taiho watched the enemy ships on his screen. The Vorthak vessels were enormous, covered with spikes and weapons that looked alive. They moved in ways that seemed wrong, twisting and turning like giant space monsters. "All ships are in position." "Sir," reported Captain Park Minji. "The enemy is scanning us now." "Let them scan," Taiho said calmly. "They won't find what they're looking for." The human ships were broadcasting false signals that made them look different than they really were. To the Vorthak scanners, the human fleet appeared to have old weapons and weak shields. This was exactly what Admiral Taiho wanted them to think. War Commander Thakmor watched the human ships from his flagship. He was a creature that looked like a cross between an insect and a reptile, with 4 arms and eyes that glowed red. He laughed when he saw how the humans were approaching. "Look how they come at us," he said to his officers in their clicking, hissing language, straightforward like animals charging into a trap. "These humans are even more stupid than we thought." The other Vorthak officers made sounds that were like laughter. They had conquered dozens of worlds using their adaptive technology. Every species they had fought tried to use better weapons against them. But their ships just adapted and became stronger. The humans would be no different. "Shall we destroy them now, War Commander?" asked one of his subordinates. "Not yet," Thakmor replied. "Let them get closer. I want to see the fear on their faces when they realize how hopeless their situation is." Wing Commander Kojiho was in his fighter, leading a squadron of 20 small attack ships. His job was to make the enemy think the humans were desperate and foolish. "Gold Squadron, this is Gold Leader," he said into his radio. "Remember, we need to look scared and disorganized. Make them think we don't know what we're doing." "Copy that, Gold Leader," came the voice of pilot Shin Yuna. "Should we start missing our shots when we attack?" "That's the idea. Make it look like we're panicking." The human fighters launched from their motherships and flew straight toward the Vorthak fleet. To anyone watching, it looked like a suicide mission. The fighters were tiny compared to the enemy battleships, but hidden behind asteroids and space debris, Vice Admiral Song Kyung-ho's stealth ships were moving into position. These vessels were invisible to most scanners, and they carried the real weapons that would decide the battle. Stealth Squadron, maintain radio silence. Song Kyung-ho whispered into his communicator. Wait for the signal. On the Iron Phoenix, Lieutenant Commander Lee Ji-won was monitoring the enemy's adaptive systems. The Vorthak ships were already beginning to scan the human weapons and prepare defenses against them. Sir, they're adapting to our weapon signatures, she reported. Their ships are changing their armor to protect against our lasers and missiles. Perfect, Admiral Taeho said with a smile. The more they adapt, the better our real plan will work. Communications Officer Ryu Hein was coordinating the complex battle plan. She had to make sure every ship knew exactly when to act. One mistake in timing could ruin everything. All units, stand by for Phase 2, she announced over the fleet communication system. The human fighters reached the outer edge of the Vorthak fleet and began their attack. Wing Commander Ko Ji-ho fired his missiles at a large enemy ship, but he aimed badly on purpose. The missiles exploded harmlessly against the enemy's shields. Gold leader to all fighters, he said, making his voice sound frightened. Their shields are too strong. We can't get through! The Vorthak laughed at the human fighters' poor performance. This confirmed what they already believed, that humans were weak and cowardly. But pilot Shin Yuna was doing more than just pretending to miss. While she flew around the enemy ships, she was scanning them with hidden sensors. She was learning exactly how their adaptive systems worked. Gold leader, I'm getting detailed readings on their adaptation patterns, she reported on a secret frequency that the enemy couldn't hear. Good work, Gold 7. Send that data to the Admiral. Back on the Iron Phoenix, Dr. Nam Jin-yuk was analyzing the information from the fighters. His years of studying Vorthak biology were about to pay off. Admiral, their adaptation is proceeding exactly as I predicted, he said excitedly. Their biological network is sharing defensive information between all ships. They're becoming more connected, not less. How long until they're fully adapted to our decoy weapons? Taeho asked. Maybe 10 more minutes, sir. Chief Engineer Kang Yoonji was in the engine room with her team, making final preparations to the quantum disruption weapons. These devices were so dangerous that they could destroy the human ships if something went wrong. Technician Park Dong-hyun, are the safety systems ready? She asked. Yes, ma'am, but I have to tell you, these readings look scary. If we miscalculate even a little bit, we could tear holes in space itself. Then we better not miscalculate. Major Im Ji-seok was with his Marines, watching the battle through the ship's cameras. His soldiers would board any enemy ships that survived the main attack. Look at those ugly things, said Gunnery Sergeant Jang Minho, pointing at the Vorthak ships. They look like they were grown instead of built. That's because they were, Im Ji-seok replied. But don't worry. We've killed biomechanical enemies before. We know how to stop them from healing. The human capital ships were now within range of the Vorthak weapons. Enemy fire began hitting the human vessels, causing explosions and damage. Several human ships reported casualties. Sir, the Soul's Wrath has taken damage to her port side, reported Captain Minji. Captain Bae Soo-hyun is asking for permission to fall back. Denied, Admiral Taeho said firmly. All ships maintain course. We have to sell this performance. The Vorthak were enjoying themselves. They watched the human ships taking damage and flying in what appeared to be panic. War Commander Thakmore was already thinking about which human worlds he would conquer next. These humans are pathetic, he said to his officers. Their weapons are primitive and their tactics are foolish. After we finish with these ships, we will crack their planet and enslave any survivors. But he didn't notice the small invisible ships that were now positioned directly behind his fleet. Song Kyung-ho's stealth squadron had completed their secret mission. Admiral Taeho looked at his watch. According to the plan, they had exactly 3 minutes left before the real attack would begin. All ships, this is Admiral Taeho, he announced on the fleet communication system. You have performed brilliantly. The enemy thinks we are weak and desperate. In 3 minutes, we will show them how wrong they are. He paused, thinking about the families on New Busan who were depending on them. Today we make history. Today we show the galaxy what humans do when someone threatens our people. All units prepare for Thunder Protocol. The Vorthak ships continued their attack. completely unaware that they had fallen into the most clever trap in human military history. Their own adaptive technology, which had made them unbeatable for so long, was about to become their greatest weakness. In exactly 2 minutes and 30 seconds, 400 Vorthak ships would learn why humans were the most dangerous species in the galaxy. The bridge of the Iron Phoenix was busy with activity. Officers moved quickly between stations, preparing for the biggest battle of their lives. Admiral Kim Tae-ho stood in the center, watching the main screen that showed the enemy fleet ahead. "Sir, we're getting more detailed scans of the Vorthak ships," said Commander Yoon Dae-sung. He was the smartest person on the ship when it came to understanding enemies. "They have 412 ships total. Most of them are battleships twice the size of our largest vessel." Captain Park Minji shook her head. "How are we supposed to fight something like that with only 47 ships? Dr. Nam Jin-hyuk stepped forward. He was a thin man with thick glasses who had spent years studying alien species. "I might have an answer to that question. Admiral, may I show you something?" Tae-ho nodded. "Go ahead, Doctor." Dr. Nam put a data chip into the main computer. The screen showed pictures and videos of Vorthak ships from old battles. 3 years ago, I volunteered for a secret mission. I pretended to be a traitor and got close to Vorthak territory. I learned something very important about how their ships work. Everyone on the bridge stopped what they were doing to listen. The Vorthak are proud of their adaptive technology, Dr. Nam continued. Their ships can change and learn from any attack. If you shoot lasers at them, their armor adapts to stop lasers. If you use missiles, they develop new defenses against missiles. That's why they always win. "That sounds impossible to beat," said Lieutenant Commander Lee Ji-won. "That's what everyone thinks. But I discovered their weakness." Dr. Nam smiled. "Their ships are all connected to each other through a biological network. They share information instantly. But what if we could make that network work against them?" Chief Engineer Kang Yoonji came onto the bridge. Her uniform was dirty from working in the engine room and she looked tired. "Admiral, Project Thunderbolt is ready. But I have to warn you, we only get one shot at this. If it doesn't work, we won't get a second chance." "Explain it to me in simple words," Tae-ho said. Kang Yoonji pointed to a diagram on the screen. "Normal weapons try to destroy enemy ships with force. Our new quantum disruption weapons don't work that way. They create chaos in the enemy systems. Instead of adapting to our attack, their own technology will turn against them. It's like giving someone a poison that makes their own body fight itself," Dr. Nam added. Captain Bae Soo-hyun's voice came over the communication system from her ship, Soul's Wrath. "Admiral, I'm seeing something strange. The Vorthak ships are arranging themselves in a battle formation around the planet. It looks like they're preparing to use their planet cracker weapons." Tae-ho felt cold. If the Vorthak used those weapons, everyone on New Busan would die in minutes. "How long do we have?" "Maybe 2 hours before they're in position to fire," Bae Soo-hyun answered. In the engineering section, mechanics Oh Seung-min and Lim Ariam were working on the quantum disruption systems. These weapons had never been used in a real battle before. They were dangerous even for the human ships. "Are you sure this will work?" Oh Seung-min asked as he connected the final power cables. "No," Lim Ariam answered honestly. "But it's the only chance we have." A new message came from the Vorthak fleet. It appeared on the main screen in ugly alien letters, but the computer translated it into human language. "Human fleet, this is War Commander Thakmor of the Vorthak Empire. You are outnumbered 10 to 1. Your ships are weak compared to ours. Surrender now and we will make your deaths quick. Refuse and we will destroy your ship slowly while you watch us crack the planet below." The bridge became very quiet. Everyone waited to hear what Admiral Tae-ho would say. Tae-ho walked to the communication station. He pressed the button to send a reply to the entire Vorthak fleet. His voice was calm and strong. "War Commander Thakmor, this is Admiral Kim Tae-ho of the Human Defense Fleet. I have a message for you and all your ships." He paused for a moment. "Come and take it," the human officers smiled. It was an old human saying that meant they would never give up, no matter how bad things looked. The Vorthak sent another message. This time it was just alien sounds, probably cursing and threats. "All ships prepare for battle," Tae-ho ordered. "Execute formation Delta 7. This was a formation they had never used before. The human ships would arrange themselves in a long line, like a spear pointed at the enemy. It looked like a suicide attack, which is exactly what Tae-ho wanted the enemy to think. Wing Commander Ko Ji-ho was in the fighter bay. getting his small attack ships ready. "Pilots, listen up," he told his squadron. "We're going to fly straight at 400 enemy ships. I won't lie to you. Most of us probably won't make it home. But those people on the planet below are counting on us, so let's give these aliens something to remember." Pilot Shin Yuna was checking her weapon systems. She was only 25 years old, but was the best fighter pilot in the fleet. "Commander, what's our real mission?" "I know the Admiral has a plan." Kojiho smiled. "Our job is to make the enemy think we're desperate and stupid. While they're laughing at us, the real attack will come from somewhere else." Meanwhile, on the stealth ships hidden behind asteroids, Vice Admiral Song Kyung-ho was preparing his secret squadron. These ships were invisible to most scanners. They had been waiting in the system for days, watching the enemy. "Remember, we have to wait for the exact right moment," he told his captains. "Too early and the plan fails. Too late and our friends die." Back on the Iron Phoenix, Communications Officer Ryu Hain was coordinating with all the ships in the fleet. She had to make sure everyone knew their part in the plan. "All units, this is Iron Phoenix Control," she said into her headset. "Operation Thunder is a go. Repeat, Operation Thunder is a go." Major Im Ji-seok was with the Marines getting ready for boarding actions. If any Vorthak ship survived the main attack, the Marines would have to capture them. "Marines, today we make history," he told his soldiers. "Today we show the galaxy that humans protect their own." Medical Officer Dr. Wu Ye-jin was preparing the medical bay for wounded soldiers. She knew there would be many casualties in the coming battle. But she also knew that every person she saved would go home to their family. Admiral Taiho looked around the bridge at his officers. These people had served with him through many dangerous missions. They trusted him completely, even when his plan seemed impossible. "Are we ready?" he asked. "All ships report ready for battle," Captain Minji answered. "Quantum disruption weapons are armed and ready," Chief Engineer Kang Yunji reported. "Fighter squadrons are standing by," Wing Commander Kojiho said over the communicator. Taiho nodded. "Then let's go save those people." The human fleet began to move forward, heading directly toward an enemy that had never been defeated. To the Vorthak, it looked like the humans were committing suicide. But Admiral Taiho had learned something important during his years of fighting. Sometimes the best way to win is to do exactly what your enemy doesn't expect. The alarm bells rang through the command center of New Busan Colony. Han So-young ran down the metal hallway, her boots making loud sounds on the floor. She was the colony administrator, and today was the worst day of her life. "Ma'am, they're getting closer," shouted one of her workers. Through the big windows, she could see dark shapes in the sky. The Vorthak ships looked like giant bugs made of metal and flesh. They were ugly and scary. Han So-young reached the communication room. Her hands shook as she turned on the emergency transmitter. She had to send a message to the human fleet. Maybe they could help. Maybe they could save the 2 million people living on New Busan. "This is New Busan Colony calling any human fleet," she said into the microphone. "We are under attack. The Vorthak Empire has 400 ships around our planet. They are killing our people. Please help us." Far away in space, Admiral Kim Tae-ho heard the message on his flagship. The ship was called Iron Phoenix, and it was big and strong. But even his strongest ship looked small next to what the Vorthak had. Tae-ho was 50 years old and had fought in many battles. His hair was gray and his face had scars from old fights. He looked at the message on his screen. His heart felt heavy. "Sir, we have orders from Earth Command," said Captain Park Minji. She was his second in command and had been fighting beside him for 15 years. "They say we should look at the situation and retreat if necessary." Tae-ho laughed, but it wasn't a happy laugh. "Retreat? There are 2 million people on that planet, Minji." "I know, sir. But we only have 47 ships. They have over 400. The computers say we have almost no chance of winning." Lieutenant Commander Lee Ji-won was working at her station. She was the person who planned their attacks. Her fingers moved fast over the controls as she studied the enemy ships. "Admiral, the Vorthak ships are different from what we've seen before," she said. "They're bigger. And, sir, they have planet cracker weapons." Everyone on the bridge became quiet. Planet crackers were weapons that could break apart entire worlds. If the Vorthak used them, everyone on New Busan would die. Another message came from the colony. This time, Han So-young sounded more scared. "Human fleet, if you can hear this, please hurry. They're destroying our evacuation ships. The civilian ships trying to escape. They're all being shot down. We have children here, families, please." Then the signal went dead. Taiho closed his eyes for a moment. He thought about his own family back on Earth. He thought about all the families on New Busan. When he opened his eyes, they were hard like steel. "Set course for the Kepler 442 system," he ordered. "Sir, the orders from Earth Command," Captain Minji started to say. "I didn't hear any orders," Taiho said loudly. "Did anyone else hear orders to retreat?" The bridge crew looked at each other. Slowly, they all shook their heads. "No, sir," they said together. "Good. Send a message to all ships in the fleet. Tell them we're going to save those people." Sergeant Major Choi Hyunwoo was in the Marine section of the ship. He was a big man with strong arms and many battle scars. When he heard they were going to fight the Vorthak, he smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "Marines," he shouted to his soldiers. "We're going to war. Get your weapons ready. Clean your armor. Say your prayers if you have any. Today we show these aliens what humans can do." The Marines cheered. They weren't scared. They were angry. Angry that aliens were hurting human families. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Kang Yoonji was working on something secret. For months she had been building new weapons. The human government called it Project Thunderbolt. Nobody was supposed to know about it except a few people. "Yoonji, are the new systems ready?" asked Dr. Nam Jin-hyuk. He was a scientist who knew a lot about alien biology. He had studied the Vorthak for years. "Almost," she said, wiping sweat from her face. "But Admiral, these weapons have never been tested in real battle. We don't know if they will work." "They have to work," Taiho said. He had come down to see the secret weapons. "Because if they don't, a lot of good people are going to die today." The human fleet moved through space toward the battle zone. Each ship was full of brave people who knew they might not come home. But they also knew that families needed their help. Captain Bae Soo-hyun commanded a smaller ship called Seoul's Wrath. She got on the communication system and talked to all the other ship captains. "Everyone knows the odds," she said. "The Vorthak have never lost a battle. Their ships can change and adapt to any weapon we use. But you know what? They've never fought humans before. They don't know how stubborn we can be." Commander Yoon Dae-sung was looking at all the information they had about the enemy. The numbers were not good. The Vorthak ships were bigger, stronger, and faster. They had better weapons and better shields. "Sir, I have to tell you," he said to Admiral Taiho. "The computer says we have a 0.03% chance of winning this battle." Taiho smiled. "So you're telling me there's a chance?" "A very, very small chance, sir. That's all we need. Humans have won with worse odds before." The fleet kept moving toward the battle. In a few hours, they would reach the Kepler 442 system. They would face an enemy that had conquered dozens of planets and enslaved entire species. But Admiral Kim Taiho wasn't worried about the odds. He was thinking about Han So-young's message. He was thinking about the families on New Busan. He was thinking about the children who needed someone to save them. "All ships, this is Admiral Taiho," he said on the fleet communication system. "In a few hours, we're going to do something impossible. We're going to save those people. And we're going to show the galaxy what happens when you threaten human families. Get ready for battle." The ships of the human fleet moved through the darkness of space, carrying hope toward what looked like certain death.